Okay. Okay. Shall we start?
Yeah, let's start.
Yeah, okay. Hi Juan. Thank you
Hello.
so much for yeah,
Of
for agreeing to be on my podcast. To be
course.
honest, you are my first online guest interviewee. Yeah, and the honor goes to you. There was another person that was supposed to be on the podcast, but I caught a flu bug a few days ago.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear.
So yeah, yeah. But yeah, let's do this. So Juan, where are you from?
So I was born and raised in Southern California. I spent most of my youth in Riverside, California, what I'd like to call my formidable years. Then from Southern California, um, I joined the Army. I spent a few months in southern South Carolina, which is on the other side of the country. So I was there for a few months. Then I flew to another state called Arizona. I lived in Arizona for about a year. And then from Arizona, I flew to New York. And then I lived in New York
Oh my God,
for 4 years. And now I'm back in Southern California, near LA. So,
near LA.
yeah.
Awesome. I have never been to the America, but I would like to visit there
Of
one
course,
day.
yeah. So I'm actually in the process of buying a restaurant with one of my business partners. So whenever you come by and we throw a mastermind here, we get a bunch of people together. Definitely, we will host something at the restaurant that we're gonna get, and then you being there would be great. Near the Bay Area,
Perfect.
yeah. So
Right. So,
all in the works. So
I guess.
we'll
So,
keep in
what's the
touch.
cuisine?
Uh,
Definitely, of course. I'm
yeah,
following
definitely
you
keep in
on
touch.
Instagram.
So it's a bar and a grill. So American food, burgers and steaks and all that stuff. So
Wow.
I
Okay.
do have I'd have to pull up the email. I could look it up right now to see what the menu is. But let's just let's talk off the mic so that I can tell you more about it. Um,
Of
but
course.
we do have plans on getting a better staff. Right now, the current staff isn't necessarily like stable. We got a lot of part-time guys going in, so all in the works. Yeah, all in the works.
Perfect. Um, okay. So, I mean, looking at your profile, I think you're okay, in terms of career, what has it been like for you
So I've been out of
so
school
far?
for 2 months. I've jumped immediately into real estate investing. So I do a thing called real estate wholesaling as a way, since I'm naturally a social person, it's easy for me to network and to get out there and talk to people. Knowing that I do plan to use my degree in the future as a businessman, but right now I'm going to build the capital, get the real estate down, get a few properties, and then afterwards, use my degree for business-minded things. Having a job, especially in the industry that I want to work in, is something that I haven't necessarily considered. But I do want to after I become how would you put it, secure. I just finished college. I do want to start my own business in something called precision fermentation, and use and food and soils, that way we can make better quality proteins. So this is a whole nother topic about what I want to do with the
Oh
degree.
my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow, better quality protein. So you're talking about food, right? Like
Yes.
for the
Yeah.
body.
Yeah. So
Awesome.
yeah, exactly. So typically people are scared of food shortages and climate control. So in college, I did a project in where um, these large farms that basically have a bunch of cows. It takes up acres and
Right.
acres of land. When you use
Mm-hmm.
precision fermentation, you can cut the land mass, the land distance or the land acreage by a tenth almost. You can reduce it to almost a tenth, where you're producing the proteins that you'd get in beef or chicken or eggs, right? And then synthesize them to taste and texture like real food. So for all the people who are super vegetarian, super vegan, like, oh,
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
oh, we got to save the animals. Like, I don't care. I eat, I kill all the cows and all the lambs because the food tastes good. You know what I mean? But for all these people who want good proteins and hopefully at a certain point in a few years when you can make it scalable and profitable, then I think it's something that it's going to be necessary when food shortages, far, far into the future occur, if ever, right? Because soils, like the world doesn't understand like how important soil is. Like you may think that, the world is going to end based on, nuclear war or, I don't know, some zombie virus. I don't know what bullshit people think about nowadays. But in reality, the real danger to humanity is unfertile
Shortages.
soils. It's soil, yeah. And America thankfully has some of the best land to grow food. So yeah. So after
So
I do plan on getting a master's degree and eventually a doctorate, but I'm kind of steep deep in business right now. So maybe when I'm older, and I have time to relax, I can pursue more degrees. So that's the
you
plan.
you I think you I mean I'm not sure how old you are right now, but I'm guessing you have so many things planned ahead in your um 20s, I guess, right?
Mhm.
And you're doing business right now. You
Yeah.
just finished college and you're doing business and you're also taking up investing on the side. And then you have plans with this very, you know, I call it passion project. Can I say that? Is it a passion project of yours?
Which one?
Passion.
Which
The
one?
the the soil, the soil.
No, no, that's like something I'm definitely gonna do, but far into the future. Yeah, like in a few years, like 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's something that's
Awesome.
definitely gonna happen. Like it's happening now. Like believe it or not, these sorts of companies are already built. Like they're already manufacturing these sorts of proteins. But because it's so taboo, where people are like, "Oh, I don't want to eat these sorts of
Yeah,
proteins. Like, what am I eating?
precisely.
I
This
don't
is
know." Like people don't even
exactly
know what
like
they're
how are
eating
you
now. Exactly.
yeah, how I mean, how can I make sure that the cow that you said that you rear and then
Yeah.
it's going to be that cow that I also consume and whether that's going to be good for my body. Is
Yeah.
that an angle that you're going to consider as well
Yeah,
when you do that?
a majority of the population doesn't even consider what they're eating now. So like what question could you bet like do you know your macros? Do you know what macros you ate today? Like anytime someone asks me about fitness, it's like, "Well, what are you eating, bro? Like why are you overweight? Do you want to gain muscle? Like what is it? Like why are you still like this?" And the issue is people don't track what they're eating. I mean, and food is such a delicacy. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I've never had Malaysian food, by the way, and I'd like to try it. So,
Come by and I'll take you around.
okay,
So, okay, I'm really interested in diving deeper into the you know, fitness and food. So
sure.
let's start with that. Like you have people coming to you,
Uh,
um, asking what do you eat, and can you explain that more? Like what do they see? Do they see that you're eating burgers all the time, but then you're not getting sick? Is that what it is, or is it something
so,
else? Like, mm,
people, civilization at its in its beginning, right? Even before the building of structures like schools and libraries and all of these facilities that we see, before all of those things were built, people were constantly hunting and foraging. And what were they hunting for? It's nutrient
animals.
rich foods, animals, right? And typically we'd eat the intestines, like the livers, the hearts, right? The most nutrient dense parts of the animals, and then the meats that we'd bring back to tribes. So nowadays, when people are, going around and eating noodles, there's nothing wrong with noodles, but when it's like consistently eating noodles every day, without enough meat intake, they're not tracking how much protein they're taking, they're not tracking the amount of carbohydrates or fats, right? It leads to weight gain. My point here is what I eat and the way I like to maintain myself is by keeping an animal-based diet. You know what I mean? Typically, I reduce it down to meat, eggs, and fruit. Like this is the really the only things that people need to thrive. But you get all these things like chips and strawberry shortcakes and cupcakes and like all these super sugary foods that have just destroyed people's lives. You know what I mean? It's awful. It's not only is it awful, it's sad and it's disgusting, Like I feel and I have this honest belief, and it might sound awful, that uh, overweight people, especially, if they're crossing over the boundary of say a little bit over obese, these people are considered addicts. Do you know what I mean? It's just not in the current vernacular in English where people say like, oh, it's just a fat person. Like this isn't just a
Mm.
fat person. This is as bad as a person in the streets, right? Who's coked out. You know what coked out means? Like coked out on drugs and just like it's
Yeah,
the
yeah,
same
but this
thing.
is food. But this
It's
is
food,
food.
exactly, and it's legal.
Mm.
That's the worst part about it. Do you know what I mean? I mean, all things in moderation, right? I do
Yeah.
enjoy good things. I do enjoy, I don't know, an ice cream sandwich once in a while, but it's not something that I do every day. You know what I mean? As much as I'd like to think, I just don't feel good. Do you know what I mean? Like your food intake really has a dramatic and significant impact on your overall health and more so than people may believe. So I'd stick to the meats, especially beef, chicken, um, eggs. Like eggs are awesome. You know how people say eat egg whites?
Yeah.
Like that's bullshit. Like you need to eat the yolks, the
No?
yolks. Yeah, you got to eat the yolks. You got to eat the whole thing, preferably the yolks. If the whole world has it backwards, it's like no, eat the yellow stuff. That's where all the nutrients, and you want to eat the out exterior of it. Like no, that's not what. Like eat the whole thing. It preferably the yolk. Yeah.
Okay, so um okay, now I'm getting this is I think I'm touching because this is also kind of personal because I've have family members who have
Uh,
been eating, meat, red meat protein, and
mm,
they unfortunately develop some, diseases,
mhm.
cholesterol, high blood pressure. So,
So if you're a
ah,
performer as an athlete, having higher
okay,
levels of cholesterol is good for you, right? It's actually very good for your body. However, if you're not an active person and
yeah.
the symptoms are a result of not being active, then the solution is getting active so that you can eat that sort of red meat. Does that make sense? Because if you
So,
it's like yeah, your cholesterol's up. Well, maybe you should stop sitting
time for me to
down.
run.
Yeah, it's time for you to get moving, man. Like think about
Okay.
it. That diet was made for people who were hunting. What were people who were hunting doing? They were either
Mm.
laying traps, going out and killing things, right? Like these are not these are taxing. These are very taxing and energy depleting activities that we evolved to be like, right? Um, so when you're eating meat, but you're just, comfortable sitting down and enjoying a plate of red meat, like it's sort of, it's sort of counterintuitive to believe that you're going to get any sort of benefit if you're not moving, right?
So what I'm hearing is that you watch your diet, but at the same time, like it or not, you have to move. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
but
Oh yeah,
because
definitely.
because I mean, in this day and age, there are people who actually prefer the sedentary lifestyle, right? You have gamers. Like, I'm not pointing out any gamers out there because I do game once in a while, but
All right.
it's
Oh,
just
I don't have time for that. I'm
I mean,
serious.
yeah,
So,
what for you? Like, what about the other peeps out there? Like, so okay, so if let's say these people they've never um if they want to try something, they want to move at least minimum. What would you say? 10 minutes a day or 10 minutes a week?
so
You know,
I'll tell you this, okay? I'll tell you this.
okay.
On
Mm,
average, people in the past, before, even when civilization was just starting, people would on average walk, males on average walk 10 miles a day. So anywhere between activity within that time frame. Mind you, I can run 5 miles in under an hour,
Hang
right?
on. What's that in kilometers? I mean,
Oh, that,
with
five
miles
miles
and
in
kilometers.
kilometers. Let me just give me 1 second. Give me one memento,
Sorry.
please.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, so
Because
5 miles in kilometers. 8.08 kilometers.
8 kilometers. Okay, so
Okay,
I can
so
run
if
about 3 to 5. Okay, okay.
perfect, yeah. So if on average people are built to walk 10 miles a day, and I'm telling you that I run 5 miles in an hour, right? It means the average person has to get at least 3 hours of movement a day to maintain a certain level of health, cognitive, and like behavioral benefit, right? So on average, you have to be moving, whether it's, talking with your family, going on a walk,
Mm,
right? Going to the store, going on walks, moving around the house, right? Playing with the kids, playing with the dogs. Like that sort of movement is the equivalent of walking and moving 10 miles, right? But you have to get the steps in. You have, like, people think exercise is like, oh, like I do a lot of bodybuilding stuff, right? Like I actually lift. I have a good physique. But for those people who are just like, hey, I'm overweight, it's a little bit too far gone. They're like
yeah.
on the threshold of not being able to come back to a point of normalcy without some sort of intervention, whether it be surgery or some, major life traumatizing event. The
Mm,
real solution is it's the word movement, right? All of life is movement, right? Everything we do is activity, talking, right? Typing, everything is activity. You just have to now, you know, increase the level of activity through low stress movements, which is walking, talking, moving around the house, but consistently. And most importantly, the worst thing for people is sitting. Like, believe it or not, sitting does the most damage. And I'll tell you what, if you sit for more than 8 hours a day, no amount of exercise will have any sort of a benefit for you. So you have to like stay standing, right? Get moving. And it's something that people have a lot of difficulty with, since you say some people prefer a sedentary lifestyle. Like that's not what we're
mm-hmm,
built for. Like
mm,
that's like saying a polar bear is gonna try to live in the desert. Do you know what I mean? Like we're not built to
yeah.
be sitting. It might be comfortable, but we're not built for that, you know.
Okay, now you're making
Yeah.
me think of my life choices. Okay, I'm gonna make some changes starting today.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
definitely
so what?
standing. Just
So
standing,
okay,
trust me.
okay, because I still work. I have a 9 to 5 job besides this podcast. So and
Right.
of course that involves me sitting. So should I get that table which can lift itself up? So I'll just stand and then start typing.
Definitely. Yeah. Get
Okay.
get used to that. You're like, as long as you get used to that, this position of sitting
Mm,
like this, right, in front of your
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
computer, like we're
Yeah.
not like that's not it's the worst possible thing for you. Like if you're trying to change your
Okay.
whole lifestyle, like it'll take about 2 weeks to get used to. But once you get used to it, you'll never want to sit down again.
Yeah, well, habit form after 21 days, right? So
hmm
you just have to
Uh,
push through.
I think it's 60 days.
6-0.
Yeah, 60
Really?
days. Oh yeah.
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna go check and get back to you because some people I've heard they said it's 21 days just to get that something going, like some consistency.
Right.
But I guess habit is 60 days. Okay.
Right.
So
Like a
okay, so
physical, yeah, exactly. Yeah. What
yeah.
were you saying?
Yeah, so what is your day to day? What does your day to day look like?
Yeah, so generally I
Like
woke up early, depending. So I took my off day was yesterday. I woke up, I slept in a little bit early. I like to take one day off. I am a Christian at heart, so I believe in one of the days, being off.
Sabbath.
Uh,
Yeah.
Yeah, the Sabbath day, exactly.
Sabbath. Yes.
But I generally prefer Sundays. Tomorrow I can't, I'm busy, so I wake up between 2:30 and 3:30. That's just my wake up time. And between 2:30 and 5:30, depending on what I have going on in the day, I'll play for about 30 minutes of chess, speed chess, and then from three
Chess.
o'clock, yeah, so from 3 o'clock, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I'll do my reading. So I generally like to read a book a day. Um, and the mornings is prime. Like I read 2 books yesterday and then got
Oh,
done with a part of another book. So today I considered the 2 books, one of the books that I read yesterday for today, and then tomorrow I have another audiobook. And usually is I listen to a book a day generally. But I've read a lot. And if I'm not reading within the morning, I'm usually looking for investment properties online. So I'm looking for people to chat with. I'm socializing. I'm getting my day ready to get to the gym, and then I post my book quote for my viewers, right, within that same time frame. So before chess, I'd like to post the book quote. I also like to put my reflection up, like, hey, this is what this book quote means, since like at face value, sometimes those quotes don't necessarily click, right?
mm,
So by 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock, I like to be done with all those smaller tasks. So it's like, hey, I gotta get my book out of the way. I gotta play a little bit of chess. And in fact, I have a good friend of mine who I'm gonna reach out to, and I'm gonna be like, hey man, because he's like really good at chess. And I'm like, hey, let's I'm gonna get him on Zoom in the mornings with me. I'm like, hey, let's train together, because this guy is like a beast. Anyways, so chess, I usually have my plan written down, but I'm converting it all up to online. Let's see, I do an ice bath as well in the mornings, so
whoa.
freezing cold.
You
Yeah,
you sink yourself in a tub and then
yeah,
what, 0 degrees?
yeah, exactly.
1 degree. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that gets done in
Okay.
the morning too. So between 3:30 to 12, all of those things need to get done. So just like these tasks. And then after 11 o'clock, I'll just start shooting content. Like, hey, I'm building like I'll start working on InstaConnect, which is a speed dating platform. But I think what I'm gonna do, the thing with health, it's when your health gets better, when you really understand how your body functions and the sort of the triggers that make you a very attractive person, right? The
Yeah.
evolutionary predispositions that make you attractive, right? It sort of it makes your relationships better. It allows you to have more energy, right? And it just like
Better
overall,
self-confidence.
yeah, well, so self-confidence is one of those things, okay? Um, that some people sort of there are people who suffer from self-esteem issues, right? And
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
self-esteem issues can generally only be fixed with a loving hand. Does that make sense? Like the love of a mother and a father generally is what it takes to fix a self-esteem issue. And not only that, but the love of friends. And the thing is, people
Mm,
suffer from loneliness. So couple
yeah.
this, right? So imagine being lonely and then having already basic self-esteem issues. Like that just leads to a vicious negative cycle. Like you're just going to keep getting less and less self-esteem because you haven't made any friends, which is what Instant Connect is going to solve, right? The issue typically with the modern world, especially in America, since geographically it's so spread out,
Mm,
it's people don't get to see each other in close proximities. That and people, American can get a little bit weird sometimes in terms of sociality. It's after COVID.
yeah.
People are more indoors and stuff. So InstaConnect is basically a personality, values, and dark triad, and what else are we doing? Love language platform where we're gonna connect people based on to match them as easily as possible. Because generally, tell me this: do you feel confident if you're not in shape?
No.
No, you don't. So if you're in shape,
Yeah.
typically you feel a lot more confident, right? Like you can perk up, you can walk around, you have, you're
Yeah.
spritey, you feel good. Now,
Your aura, yeah, your aura just
exactly,
it brightens up. Yeah.
exactly. So what do you train for? Do you train because you want better friends, a better love life, or do you train because you want to master your mind and your body? Like it's either one of these two, right? Or do you want to be able to travel and be okay with that, or do you want money, right? These two things are the last two things definitely typically don't really aren't really a part of your health. It's typically either you want to improve your love life or your friendships, or yeah, you want to be able to master your mindset and your body. So from these two perspectives, if you're in the category where you want to have better friends and a better love life, right? The next question is, if it's for a love life and for friends, and you can't find the friends that you're compatible with, or you can't find, the guy who can really appreciate you for who you are, you can connect with, you've done that all in vain, right? So the idea of InstaConnect is we're making connection more simple by providing people access to one another through this values-based perspective. Like, oh, okay, well, this guy, and not only that, if for particularly for friendships, we're gonna do a connect. So everyone in when they start to connect and they like each other, they're gonna be able to connect their Instagrams, their Facebooks, and have you ever heard of Meetup?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So then they're meetup groups too. That way they can just like all, congregate into the same area. So it's like the middle ground for people rather than just like, I'm going to just go out, shoot my luck or
And
have
yeah,
my,
yeah.
right.
Let's see if
Let's see who
I
comes.
can
It's
walk
like, are you
to somebody.
serious?
Yeah. Let's see.
Yeah. Oh, he's cute, but he's fucking
Yeah,
stupid,
but
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So a big part of it, and the reason why I built it, I do believe in love, and again, the reason why this idea of love is so foreign
Distorted.
to people is because people aren't compatible. People don't find people to be compatible with. And the thing is, when you find true love, like true love is a real thing. I don't care what anyone says. I don't think real love, like the idea of real love is a real thing, but true love and love, like common love and true love are two things. True love is like another level, but common love
Mm,
is something that can happen. And as long as people are compatible, there generally isn't any issues, right? Like you can form
yeah,
lasting long-term bonds with
yeah,
with people who, and that's what I aim to do. But the only issue is it's so played out. Like I'm trying to also make it a friendship thing too. Like I want people to be able to connect with similar minds. It as long if you're not a theologian or an intellectual, you shouldn't really care what the opposing side says. Do you know what I mean? As long as it's not
yeah,
dogmatic or in any
yeah.
ways, how would you say, extreme, right?
Yes,
People need to
extreme.
be
Yeah,
around people who they want to be like and who they're like. Birds of the same feather flock together. Does that make sense? So, for example,
yeah,
if you told me, "Hey, I want to get in shape and I want to be around you," first of all, I'd say, "Okay, well, this is how much my program costs. This is what I do in 3 months. I'll get you a program. I'll get your macros tracked in, and I'll keep you accountable." You're like, yeah, I want to keep that. And, my job and my responsibility as your coach, which is exactly what I do, is to make sure that you're hitting, to make sure you're hitting your daily goals and fortifying your mindset so that
mm.
you don't break your character. You know what I
You
mean?
didn't slip back. Yeah, you don't slip.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And then you couple that with, well, I want my relationships to get better. Well, really the only way your relationships get better is one, if you can't get along with the people you're around, then you better make sure that you're helping people, right? You're making sure that you're helping those around you despite the fact that you can't get along with them. Two, right? You shoot your luck and you're like, I just wait for someone to come by and thinks I'm pretty enough, or, thinks they can get along with me and deal with my bullshit. Like, it really isn't complicated, but the world has made things, I don't think the world is crazy enough to reward undeserving people yet, but the world is definitely, taking some twists and turns. Not to include the fact that people still don't realize that humans are intrinsically flawed. Like we're flawed in so many ways that, men and women, this whole men and women discussion about, oh, men are better. Is that
mm.
oh, women are better. It's like, oh, feminine rights. It's like, oh man, that gives me such a headache. Yeah. Or you get what?
Okay. Yes, yes, yes. That's a whole other topic on its own.
Isn't it? Yeah, it is, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it is. Like, yeah, the whole thing. Because I myself, I don't. How do I say this? I'm a citizen of the world, and I try. I love every I try to love everything, like including the creature, because those are created. So I mean, they have a reason why they're here. So, people starting to segregate themselves with being feminist and anti, I don't know, yeah, all those things.
Hmm.
It's something that I've learned in recent years, and to be honest, I'm struggling to grasp the whole subject and the whole idea as well, and I do not want to comment before I get
Yeah.
any better knowledge on that. But of
Right.
course, the whole platform is to hear the perspective of the speakers and see it from their point of view, you
Yeah.
know
A great quote
yeah.
by Will Durant. It's we must learn to respect each other's delusions. And that in itself is an
Mm.
interesting perspective, right? It's like, well, if I'm crazy, you're
Delusions, you
crazy.
see.
Right. My
Yeah,
point
delusion,
exactly.
you see, the break a moment. Yeah.
Perspective and delusion. Maybe they're the same thing. Who knows? Now I'm just playing. I'm just playing.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so okay, coming back to your fitness journey. So, okay, let's say a person. So they started jogging, they started doing treadmill,
Sure.
swimming, but then after 14 days, 30 days, they start saying, "Oh, I don't see any changes." So, how do I push through that? Like, how do you become resilient in your mindset to say, "Okay, whatever it is, I'm going to do it."
Right.
Like,
So how do you, yeah, right, that makes sense.
basically coming back to fortifying your mindset. Like, what is your, I would say, advice, or if it was you when you were younger? I
Right.
mean, yeah.
So there's the there's the mindset approach, and then there's what you can do to make sure that who you're around is also benefiting from that. So the first mindset thing is, do you actually want to be healthy? Like, you gotta really ask yourself that. Like, do you really see the benefit in this? Do you really want to be, a different person? And that's the first question in terms of the mindset. And generally, in the moment when someone's about to quit, they'll say, no, I
Mm,
don't want that. And they'll go back to their pathetic lives, right? They'll go eat a big
mm,
a big meal and be like, oh, I give up. Like, oh, just like that. For that person, right, who in the moment of wanting to quit and keeps thinking they want to quit, right? But instead of quitting, is thinking in their mind like, oh man, sucks, this is awful, but then keeps going, that's a winner,
yeah.
right? Because I tell you what,
Mm,
there's a lot of times when I'm working out and I'm like, man,
yeah.
this is awful. Gosh, I wish I could stop right
My
now.
legs are
You know what I
killing
mean?
me.
My legs are killing
Yeah.
me, my biceps are hurting. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I should
Yeah.
just stop. And every time I've had that thought in my mind, the only difference is it's mind over matter, right? I was able to
Mm,
let
yeah.
my body just do what it's doing. Do you know what I mean? In terms of fortifying your mind and really, you know, you gotta know what intrinsically drives you. Like, why do you want health? Do you want a better love life? Do you want better social, like, do you want a better social group, right? Like, what is it that drives you to do these things? And I'd keep that image in your mind, and I'd keep taking steps forward to it. I would never let go. I would never let go of that image, because, you know, the biggest part is, then the second part is like, objectively, okay, what can you do to make sure that you're still moving in that position during that, in that direction? It's who's supporting you, right?
Mm, mm,
Who's there watching you? Who's gonna tell you like, hey, get back to it? Because generally, when people become overweight, there's a series of people that actually encourage that sort of behavior, right? Because it makes and
You
it's really
are who
sad.
you associate yourself with.
Exactly. Exactly. It's sad. It's sad. It's like, oh yeah, keep eating. Oh yeah, don't worry about it. You feel better, right? And it's awful. It's sickening, right? But then you get a coach like me. This is exactly why I offer a program, because a lot of people don't have that support, that support and that net to fall on. It's like, oh, I really feel like quitting. But the thing is, you pay my fee, and in 3 months we can transform your life. You know what I mean? We can make sure that your mindset is from what I learn, I keep teaching what I'm learning to keep these people on track, because it's not a one time, so like, hey, I'm gonna give you a quote real quick, and magic, you're fucking, you're healed now. No, this is this is something that you got to do every day, and as a coach, it's like the biggest responsibility, right? um
Yeah.
and just hanging out with someone like me, just by hanging out with people who are already there, you start to really get a grasp of the
Mm,
mindset that it takes to perform at a certain level. And if it's just for health, that's even better, right? Because the work is that much easier. It's like, yeah, I understand how you think about food. I understand how you think about exercise. I understand that you keep going for the health benefits, right? And as you watch my life get better, as you see my results, it's like, well, I sort of want that too. So
yeah.
objectively, it's the support network and watching
Mm,
people do it, right? I mean, those are the two things that, man, there's so many quotes I could say, right? Without being someone like David Goggins, like, stop being a bitch and stop doing this, and like, like getting up in someone's face. In reality, like, you're always one step away you're always one step away from a positive direction, right?
mm,
And you just keep
yeah.
taking the steps towards that goal. You just keep walking in that direction. Like, don't let that go. Do you know what I mean? And I mean, like, damn it, whether in anything, right? I mean, I start with health, but if someone is are very, very healthy, whether it's in your relation, like the next part is your relationships and your money, right? Like, hey, how are you supporting
Yeah.
yourself? What are you doing to bring wealth to your life? And in
Yeah.
reality, it's like, when you have, who's gonna listen to a big fat person, or a really skinny, like, fat person with no, with actually, like, no physical care of themselves? You might have a pretty face, do you know what I mean? But in reality, the real benefits come from being physically active. So you have to have that down before you can even consider making lots of, like, um, you know, capital, especially money, because then people know you're serious about yourself. People know
Yeah, you're
that
committed
you can trust
on
you.
something
Yeah,
at least. Yeah.
yeah. Like, oh
Yeah.
wow, he got a degree. He's committed. His mind is right. Great, right? His body's good. Commitment, easy. I mean, Jesus, like, what more could anyone ask for, right? In a friend, in a spouse. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm.
what more, other than, a lot of money? But so
That's a bonus, but yeah, I mean, these are the two fundamental things. Okay, something definitely a golden nuggets for me to take it for myself and for the listeners outside.
what are your goals? What are you trying to work on right now?
Okay, definitely health. So I am trying to work. Uh, I try to run every day around the park where I live. So that's clocking about right now 2 kilometers or 3 kilometers. Yeah, 3 kilometers. So that's it. But at home I do have some sets of weights. So I try to um put that in as well. But when I go after I finish running, it's like, oh, okay, I'm proud of myself. Maybe I should put that weightlifting tomorrow, and then it doesn't get done unless
Right,
I do the weights first and then I run. Because right
right,
now it's like, okay, if running, that I'm sweating, I'm using my legs, so I and yeah, the movement's there. But I do know when I lift, and it's very easy for me to see the results. Like, and if I watch what I eat, it's super easy. So I do confess that I sometimes slip back to my old habits. So it is I don't want to say battle because it is a negative thing, but it's choosing that right thing even though you know it's difficult. It's not all sunshine every day. Sometimes you're having a bad day at work. You just don't want to work out because maybe it's also setting the mindset, right? Regardless the day is good or not, moving is number one. Yeah. So
Right.
that's what
So I have a few things to tell you just to help you out here. There's a great
okay.
book by Brian Tracy. It's free on Audible. It's called Focal Point. I
Focal
would
point.
definitely
Okay.
recommend it. Now, if
I'm
you're
gonna
trying
write
to
that down right
develop,
now.
yeah, so if you're trying to develop a new habit, the secret
Mm-hmm.
here is you have to pretend that you already have the habit. So, for example,
Mm-hmm.
if your habit is weightlifting, right? Like, oh, I want to weightlift. Oh, I want to. Oh, I don't want to get to it. But if you think to yourself, it's like, wait, no, I do that all the time, right? You put your mind in a state of like, oh wait, I do that all the time, right? Then you actually end up in front of the bar and then you start lifting it. Does that make sense? It's treat the habits you want to develop like you already have them. That way it's like, oh no,
That's
I do
already
this.
ingrained in yourself. Like
Yeah,
it's
I already
already
do
here.
that.
Like,
Yeah, it takes you a step closer to doing it. Does that make sense? Like, oh no, I
mm.
do this all the time. Too easy.
If you think about it, you're 50% done,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
When you, yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
50% done. If you
Okay.
think about it, you're 50% done.
Yeah, I mean, if you're already thinking about something, you're already 50%, you're halfway through that,
Right.
whatever that you want to do. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, that's a quote that
What you're
I've
telling me is you got to listen to yourself. Like, really
mm,
listen to yourself, right? You ever have, like, you remember as a child when your mom would say, come to dinner, or, take your clothes out, or something, I don't know, do your laundry, something like clean your room.
mm,
So,
mm,
in that way, your mind, right? The parts of your mind that want to get healthy, the real like your inner core, the deepest parts of yourself who that tell you what to do, you got to listen to that person. Does that make sense? Like
mm,
listen.
mm.
I'm literally at the point in my life where if I don't listen to myself, like the universe punishes me. Do you know what I mean?
Oh my God, yes, yes,
It's like, oh
yes.
shit, like damn it, like I
Yeah,
shouldn't
it's
have
like it's
ate
like
that.
I should have, yeah, I should
Yeah,
have not, like, I should have gone out tonight because I know
yeah,
something will happen.
yeah.
I've got, yeah, stomach ache or whatever. It's like, this is the sign from the universe. And this is I'm at that point as well. Like, if I don't do something, or if I do something, then it's not good for me, then I'm gonna get it like cash immediately. So, okay. All right, I'll keep that in mind, definitely. Okay, so okay, we'll go to the next question. So, okay, what is sleep to you?
Okay, are you sure we didn't answer enough questions about your training routine?
Um, well, you
Like what's stopping you? Yeah, I think, oh, now I know. It's you have to make it a priority, right? It's an
mm,
important part of your day. You know, your body and your mind. Your mind is the only thing you have. And if you take care of your body, your mind will reward you. Does that make sense? Like
mm,
I develop my best thoughts and my most creative parts of myself when I'm in the
mm,
middle of a run, right? When I'm
mm,
lifting. I think better. Does that make sense? I'm in a state of my body is filled with serotonin, dopamine, chemicals similar to morphine to ease the pain. Like you've triggered parts of yourself that are natural dispositions that you don't do often. Now imagine this, right? Imagine before civilization started, when we were all hunters and gatherers, and you were hungry, right? This is why it's good
mm,
to only eat one meal a day. What were you generally doing? You were out looking for food, right? You have to
yeah,
put yourself in that state of of um, of like of fitness because that's where you're supposed to be. Like it's your natural state. And when you go in a sedentary lifestyle where you're just like, I'm just gonna chill and watch some TV and just like be whatever, right? It gets, I mean, man, like you are reducing yourself from your highest, from your
Oh no! What happened?